Hey everybody, this is QuickTime Dan, and I'm talking about God damn what the fucking pops. I'm talking about the Power Rangers movie, which is a reboot movie that was just announced about a week ago, and I haven't really I read like an article about it, and obviously they haven't announced anything regarding the movie, even when it's going to be released or what it's going to be, other than just a reboot of essentially the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series. And I haven't watched any videos or done anything. I'm actually probably as soon as I'm done rendering and uploading this video, I'm just going to go ahead and watch Black Nerd Comedy and see what he has to say about it. But I just want to put in my 2 cents about the whole thing. And I'm actually pretty excited. I've just kind of been sort of getting back into Power Rangers a little bit. I've been watching episodes with my daughter recently, and I'm excited. Like, this sounds really cool. I'm nervous. I think most people are about exactly how they're gonna do a reboot. Um, I do have some things in mind, but first I'm gonna talk about like the original movie, which I recently just rewatched, and it's not great at all. It's not really that good, except for Ivan Ooze, who is probably the best Power Ranger villain, at least that I've seen. I haven't really watched any of it since. I barely watched Power Rangers in space, and I don't know. I think he was the best villain. He made that movie, and some of the other cool things was like just like the how they kind of tried to redo some stuff, like the look of the command center, Zordon, even though he did look really fucking weird, and like their armor or their suits, how they're more armored, and it was pretty cool. But when it comes to a new movie, a reboot, first you gotta get the elephant out of the room. Is how are you gonna deal with the racial insensitivity with the original, which really I think it's fucking 2014. The movie's not going to come out probably until 2015, most likely 16. And I'm just thinking, just fucking get over it. It's like Black Ranger is black, whatever, who cares? The Yellow Ranger is Asian. Just get over it, because if they're going to do a reboot, I want them to use the same characters. Same personality. Just maybe not so much of the fucking goody goody bullshit that they did in the show. But I'm not saying I want like a darker, grittier version of Power Rangers. In fact, I mean, my first instinct would be to get rid of a lot of like the fucking showboating, weird poses and stuff. But the thing is, if you get rid of that, it's really not Power Rangers. It's not, the English version of Super Sentai without all that. But my money's on that they're going to get rid of that for the most part, which I don't think would be that big a deal, except it wouldn't really feel like Power Rangers without the ridiculous over the top bullshit. But in terms of like actual story or how they would actually do something like this, I think the best thing to do would be to actually take some of the story aspects of the original Sentai Jew Ranger or whatever it was called. Because I mean, they already ripped it off once. Why not just rip it again and and just kind of borrow elements? And what I mean by it is, if you haven't seen it, the Power Rangers, the Super Sentai in that series were actually 5 warriors from like the dinosaur days. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but they went into like hyperbolic sleep or some kind of weird mystical hibernation thing in case I can't remember her name, but basically the Japanese equivalent of Rita, in case she ever came back to try to rule the galaxy or whatever the hell she's trying to do. And I think if they should probably borrow it, maybe kind of borrow that, but instead of making them like misplaced in time type of thing that we've seen 100 times, why don't just see the other thing that we've already seen 100 times? Just make them like they're either reincarnated or they're like the the new Power Rangers are actually descendants of warriors from, you know, a million, whatever, 1,000 years ago, whatever you want to, if you don't want to get too much into like the dinosaur weird shit. But then it could be completely different if they actually made a sequel, and the Green Ranger, who could actually be played by everybody's favorite uh, Jason David Scott, is that his name? David, Jason, whatever. The guy that played Tommy actually was sealed or something, and so it would kind of make sense for in the sequel. I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself, like talking about a sequel. But like in the original, like in the new reboot, no, they're actually teenagers. It'd actually be cool if they actually had real teenagers actually playing the Power Rangers this time. But then you have the Jason David Frank guy show up. You know, he's older than all of them, but that makes sense because he actually is one of the original Rangers, and he's bad in this, whatever. And then, of course, by the end of the movie, he would be good. You know, just like the story is meant to be. In terms of like how they could actually handle the reboot, in terms of the setting and style, is of course make it modern day. Obviously, we know with cell phones and all that shit. Don't try to like do some kind. I mean, I guess it would be kind of interesting if they actually made it like take place in the '90s, but '90s kind of sucked. Well, for the most part. Yeah, I just kind of borrowed a movie Bob quote, but whatever. But what I mean by with the setting and just kind of like how the characters interact with each other and stuff is to try to make it a little bit more believable. You know, like I was saying, like they're always kind of like the goody two shoe progressive liberals, teenage kids, which I always thought was it didn't really bother me that much at the time, but when I got a little bit older, and especially now, it's just kind of ridiculous. Like, oh, they're always trying to do good. Like, no fucking teenager acts like that. And none of them are wearing Birkenstocks, so it just plain doesn't make sense. So try to make them a little bit more realistic in a more realistic world, but just give them fucking superpowers. Um, with Rita or and the bad guys is number one, maybe change Rita's name, maybe keep the Rita part, but maybe Repulsa, that's a little too lame. It's a little too kiddie and lame. So maybe change that, but really and maybe kind of take out some of the goofiness when it came to the bad guys. Kind of actually make them really threatening, which is though I mean Ivan Ooze was a great balance between being like a villain, but then actually being really kind of goofy enough for the kids to not just completely shit their pants. But since no, this is fucking 2014. You know, kids aren't. You know, people don't bitch as much about stuff like that when it comes to kid stuff. So actually, maybe I'm not saying blood and you know having people die or anything, but don't be. They shouldn't. They don't need to be afraid to actually make the villain actually fucking threatening. And of course, Zord battles. I'm so split on this. We've seen the awful CG in the original movie, and I'm just afraid. If you didn't know, it's you know, Saban. They still own the rights. They actually sold it to Disney, but they got it back, and they're partnering up with Lionsgate. And yeah, the same motherfuckers that pulled my Ninja Turtle abridged off of YouTube way back in the day. But whatever, I'm over it mostly. Like, I don't really know what type of budget they're going to be having going into this thing, because that could really determine like, are we going to get like really shitty CG? Are we going to get really good CG? Or are they going to be totally badass? And this is what I'm split on. Have actual guys in suits, fucking, with like with the miniature models and everything, actually fighting. Which I think would be really cool, like in kind of like a B movie type of way. But it would just be really awesome to see that, especially in this day and age where they're just like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna put suits on these guys on on some guys and make them look like giant robots." But that's all I really have to say. Like I said, I'm excited, and I'm really hoping that they do the fucking series justice. So if you guys have any comments, any theories, what might happen. Oh, another thing I did want to mention this. Like I was saying, like they're like the ancestors or maybe reincarnated. I think it'd be really cool if they actually brought back the original Power Rangers as like maybe not spirit guides or something like that. Nothing as cliche as that, but just have them like kind of show up or maybe even like in a flashback. The only problem with that is, of course, the girl that played Trini died, about 10 years ago or whatever. Maybe it wasn't that long ago, but she died a while back. So I don't know exactly how they would do that. I mean, I guess just replace her. I mean, just like they did the first time when she had left the series. But yeah, like I said, leave a comment. Tell me what you want them to do, and of course, watch my other videos. I just put up a Power Ranger video game review based off the Sega Genesis version of the movie. So check that out, and yeah, have a good day.